Understanding the roots of offense, the rehearsed reflex. Taking offense is not a random occurrence. It is often a deeply ingrained, rehearsed reflex. This offense-rehearsed reflex, as I term it, functions much like muscle memory. The more frequently an individual experiences and reacts to perceived slights, the stronger and more automatic this hyper-reactive emotional response becomes. It's a pattern that our brains have learned, often stemming from old, unhealed wounds that prime us for sensitivity. This reflex isn't necessarily a conscious choice in the moment of reaction, but rather a preloaded program running in the background waiting for a trigger. Understanding this mechanism is the very first step toward dismantling its power over our emotional well-being. This learned pattern means that our brains become exceptionally efficient at spotting potential offenses, sometimes even where none are intended. Think of it as a pathway in the brain that has been trodden so many times it has become a well-worn highway. Each time we take offense, we are in essence reinforcing this neural pathway, making it easier for the next perceived provocation to send us down the same reactive route. This is why some individuals seem to be offended more easily than others. Their offense reflex has been more thoroughly rehearsed over time. It's a cycle that can feel inescapable. But like any learned behavior, it can also be unlearned and rewired with conscious effort and the right tools. The concept of neuroplasticity supports this understanding. Neuroscientist Dr. Caroline Leaf states, "Your brain wires itself around the thoughts you rehearse. If you rehearse offense, you'll live offended." This highlights the critical role of our own thought patterns in perpetuating the cycle of taking offense. It's not just external events that cause us to feel offended, but our internal rehearsal of those feelings and the narratives we build around them. This internal process solidifies the reflex, making it a default setting for our emotional responses unless we actively intervene to change the script and forge new, healthier neural pathways. Therefore, recognizing that being easily offended is a rehearsed behavior rather than an inherent personality trait is profoundly empowering. It shifts the focus from a sense of helplessness to one of potential agency. If we learn to be this way, often unconsciously, we can consciously learn to be different. The subsequent sections will explore how our expectations fuel this reflex and introduce a strategy to begin the crucial work of rewiring these automatic responses. This understanding forms the bedrock upon which we can build a more resilient and emotionally controlled self, less susceptible to the unintentional or intentional barbs of others. Unpacking expectation bias, why we see what we expect. A significant contributor to the offense-rehearsed reflex is a cognitive phenomenon known as expectation bias. This bias means that we often see situations and interpret others' actions not as they objectively are, but as we are. Our brains are wired to look for patterns and confirm pre-existing beliefs, meaning our expectations about how people will behave or how situations will unfold heavily influence our perceptions. If past experiences have led us to expect negativity, criticism, or disrespect, our minds become adept at finding evidence to support these expectations, even if the evidence is ambiguous or misinterpreted. This essentially means we are often reacting to what our brain has been trained to anticipate. This expectation bias acts like a filter, coloring our view of the world and our interactions. When an event occurs, our brain quickly sifts through past experiences and learned scripts to make sense of it. If our internal script is one where we are frequently slighted or misunderstood, we're more likely to interpret neutral or even positive actions through this negative lens. This is not necessarily a conscious, deliberate distortion, but an automatic process. The offense, therefore, often stems from the gap between what we expected to happen, or what we were braced for, and what actually transpired or how we perceived it to have transpired. This tendency can create a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we expect people to be unkind, we might approach interactions defensively or with suspicion, which in turn can elicit a less favorable response from others, thereby confirming our initial negative expectation. This cycle reinforces the expectation bias and strengthens the offense-rehearsed reflex. We become trapped in a loop where our expectations generate the very experiences that solidify those expectations. Breaking free requires a conscious effort to challenge these ingrained assumptions and to consider alternative interpretations of events and behaviors rather than defaulting to the familiar, often painful script. Understanding expectation bias is crucial because it reveals that the source of our offense is often internal, rooted in our own cognitive frameworks rather than solely in the external event or person. It shows us that we have more control than we might think, not over what others say or do, but over how we interpret and react to it. By recognizing that our expectations are shaping our reality, we can begin the work of adjusting those expectations and, in doing so, reduce the frequency and intensity of our offense reflex, paving the way for more peaceful and objective interactions with the world around us. The Rewire Reset Strategy, a daily path to emotional freedom. To combat the ingrained offense-rehearsed reflex and the influence of expectation bias, a structured approach is necessary. The Rewire Reset Strategy offers a daily framework to systematically dismantle old patterns and build new, healthier emotional responses. This method emphasizes daily mindset shifts, understanding that repetition is key to forming new habits. Each day, when faced with a provocation, the first step is to visualize a prominent red and white stop sign. This mental cue serves as an immediate interruption, creating a crucial pause before the old reflex can take over. For this strategy to be most effective, one should quickly revisit the steps from previous days before integrating the new day's focus. The journey begins on day 1 with interrupting the pattern. When you feel the familiar surge of offense, that stop sign appears in your mind. In this vital pause, you analyze your thinking before reacting. The message to yourself is, I have 5 seconds right now to get control or hand it over to them. By inspecting my thoughts, I win. They lose control over me. This initial step is about reclaiming those first few critical moments, preventing an automatic, unthinking reaction, and instead choosing a conscious assessment of your internal state and the external trigger, thereby asserting immediate self-regulation. Day 2 focuses on dropping the expectation script. This involves consciously deciding to end the powerful influence of past negative scripts that have trained you to expect offense. The internal declaration here is potent. I won't let anybody anymore tell me how to think. That's over. This step directly tackles the expectation bias, empowering you to stop anticipating negativity based on past hurts. It's about recognizing that old wounds don't have to dictate present perceptions or future interactions. You are actively choosing to approach situations with a cleaner slate, less burdened by the weight of past disappointments or betrayals. On day 3, you learn to flip the power dynamic. This involves a crucial shift where you stop feeling the need to constantly argue, prove your point, or defend yourself against perceived attacks. The empowering message for this day is what they just said. That's their own mirror, not my identity. Those days are over. This insight helps create emotional distance, recognizing that often offensive comments or actions say more about the other person's issues, insecurities, or perspectives than they do about your actual worth or character. It's a liberating step that conserves energy previously spent on futile justifications. Continuing the Rewire Reset journey, day 4 encourages you to refuse to play the game. This means consciously choosing not to accept the roles, be it victim, villain, or any other limiting persona, that others might try to assign to you through their words or actions. The self-talk for this day is assertive. I won't let them or anybody else cast me in their sick play. I write my own scripts now. This step is about reclaiming your narrative and asserting your autonomy. You are no longer a passive actor in someone else's drama, but the author and director of your own life story, choosing roles that empower and reflect your true self. Day 5 introduces a proactive approach. Launch your own classy level up bomb. This powerful technique involves responding to perceived cruelty or negativity, not with reciprocal anger or defensiveness, but with unexpected kindness or grace. The guiding message is, they say something cruel and mean, I'll say something kind to turn their odor into perfume. This doesn't mean being a doormat, but rather strategically disarming negativity with composure and class. It's about rising above the provocation, maintaining your integrity, and often shifting the entire dynamic of the interaction in a surprising and constructive way. The strategy then moves to emotional and physical cleansing. Day 6 is about rinsing it off, shaking it off. This step acknowledges that even with the best mental strategies, negative encounters can leave a residue. The focus here is to release any lingering negativity through healthy physical outlets. The message to self is, I won't carry other people's stinging stink anymore. I rinse and release by a healthy physical outlet. This could involve a brisk walk, deep stretching exercises, or focused deep breathing techniques to physically expel the stress and emotional toxins. Finally, day 7 is about rewriting the scene, where you consciously control how an offensive event is remembered, reframing pain into a turning point for personal gain. The message is, I'm not the victim in their messed up story. I'm the author of my own rewrite. This entire process of rewiring is supported by psychological research. Psychologist Dr. Ethan Kross notes, when we coach ourselves in the third person, even with simple reframes, we create emotional distance and boost self-regulation. The daily self-talk messages in the Rewire Reset strategy leverage this very principle. Ultimately, the choice is yours. As the unoffendable mindset reset statement declares, the harder it is for people to offend you, the fewer battles you'll have to fight through. You can take offense or you can take back control. It's your choice, not theirs.